This is Manchester in 1842. Step off the train. The sky above you is not blue, it is brown, orange at the edges, thick enough to block the sun. You can look directly at it without squinting, a dull red disk hanging behind a curtain of smoke. The air has weight. It presses against your face, coats your tongue, and tastes of sulfur and burnt coal. You breathe, and something sharp scrapes the back of your throat. Your eyes begin to water. Around you, the noise is total. Not loud, total. 10,000 looms clatter in unison. Steam engines hiss. Iron wheels grind across cobblestones. Factory whistles cut through it all like sirens. This is the richest city in the world, the most technologically advanced and the most poisonous place a human being can live. You are standing in the heart of what contemporaries called Cottonopolis, the first industrial city and the engine of the British Empire's wealth. Your body is already telling you that something is wrong. Look up. On a clear day, and today is technically clear, you should see the sky. Instead, there is only haze. A blanket of cold smoke from thousands of domestic and industrial chimneys has merged into a single cloud that sits over the city like a lid. French visitor Alexis de Tocqueville wrote in 1835 that the sun appeared as a disk without rays. He was not exaggerating. The smoke is so thick that when snow falls, it arrives already grey and lands black. The air itself is different. It is not invisible, you can actually see it. A brown fog drifts through the streets in slow currents, thicker near the factories and thinner near the outskirts, but never completely absent. It smells of burning coal, but also of something sweeter and more chemical. Dye works, tanneries, slaughterhouses, all of it rises together, mixes in the atmosphere, then settles back down onto the streets, the buildings, and the people. Brick facades that were once red are now uniformly black, coated in a greasy film of soot that no amount of scrubbing can remove. Take a deeper breath. Cotton dust hangs in the air, even outside the mills. Fine particles float on the breeze, invisible until you begin to cough. And you will cough. Everyone coughs here. The Manchester cough is not a figure of speech. It is a chronic condition, a rasping, persistent hack shared by workers and residents alike. It is often the first sign that your lungs are beginning to fail. Now listen carefully. The sound is not coming from one place. It is coming from everywhere. The factories operate day and night, and the noise they produce never truly stops. The rhythmic hammering of power looms, the groan and hiss of steam engines, the shriek of metal grinding against metal, and the rumble of carts arriving with raw cotton and leaving with finished cloth. The entire city vibrates with it. Workers in the boiler rooms and weaving sheds often lose their hearing within only a few years. Even out in the streets, you must shout just to be heard. This is the world you have entered, not gradually, but all at once. The assault on your senses is immediate and relentless. There is no adjustment period. You are simply inside it now, breathing it, hearing it, tasting it. And this is only the surface. Walk toward the noise. Follow the stream of workers moving through the streets at 6 o'clock in the morning. Their faces are already grey with exhaustion as they make their way toward the mill's massive brick fortresses 5, 6, even 7 stories tall. Their walls are black with soot, their windows fogged by the heat inside. You are about to go in. The temperature hits you first. 85 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes 90. The mills are kept deliberately hot and humid to prevent the cotton threads from snapping. The air is thick, wet, and difficult to breathe. Within minutes your clothes are soaked with sweat. Within an hour you are coated in a fine layer of white dust. Cotton fibers float through the air, settling on your skin, your hair, and even your eyelashes. This is fly. You breathe it in with every single breath. The machinery fills the room. Endless rows of spinning frames and power looms stretch before you, each one taller than a man and each one constantly moving. The noise inside is not simply louder than outside, it is more concentrated. It becomes a physical force. The relentless clatter of the looms pounds against your skull until it aches. Conversation is impossible. Workers communicate through hand signals and lip reading because the machines are too loud for human voices. Watch the workers carefully. They do not control the machines. The machines control them. A spinner stands beside her frame for 14 hours, watching hundreds of threads, waiting for just one to snap. When it does, she must repair it instantly. There is no pause button. The frame never stops. Her hands move automatically, tie the thread, smooth it back into place, then step away before the carriage swings forward again. One mistake can crush her fingers. Exhaustion leads to mistakes, and mistakes often lead to injury. Now look lower. At the base of the spinning frames, children are working. They are called piecers. Their job is to crawl beneath the moving machinery to repair threads that break near the bottom, where adult hands cannot reach. They are 6 years old, 8, perhaps 10. Small enough to squeeze into spaces no grown worker could enter. Watch one of them now. A barefoot girl darts beneath the spinning frame as the carriage rolls away from her. She has only a few seconds to tie the broken thread before the machinery swings back. She is astonishingly fast because she has to be. The machine does not care that she is a child. It never slows down. It never waits. The heat never eases. The cotton dust never settles. By midday the workers are already coughing deep, wet coughs that bring up grey phlegm. Every breath carries fine cotton fibers deep into their lungs, where they slowly become trapped in the tissue. On Monday mornings, after a single Sunday away from the mill, the tightness in the chest feels even worse. Workers call it Monday fever, the first warning sign of bisonosis, better known as brown lung disease. The illness begins quietly with a feeling of pressure in the chest. Over time it becomes permanent breathlessness. Eventually even simple movements leave a worker gasping for air. For many, it ends in slow suffocation long before they reach 40 years of age. The overseer walks steadily between the rows of machines. A leather strap hangs from his hand. He is not cruel simply for the sake of cruelty. He is enforcing the system. A child who arrives only 2 minutes late can lose an hour's wages. A worker who pauses to rest is fined. A broken thread left unnoticed for half a minute means money deducted from the week's pay. Every second has a price. The mill owner demands maximum productivity. The overseer delivers it. The workers pay for it with their bodies. Then, suddenly, an accident happens only a few rows away. A woman has failed to tie her hair back securely. It catches in one of the fast-moving belt drives. In an instant the machine pulls her forward. A scream echoes across the mill, then stops almost immediately. The machinery finally comes to a halt. Nearby workers rush toward her, struggling to pull her free. Her scalp has been torn away. She is carried from the factory floor while the other workers stand silently at their machines. 5 minutes later the belts begin turning again. Production cannot stop. The looms resume their relentless rhythm as though nothing has happened. The surviving workers lower their heads and return to their stations. No memorial. No investigation. No day of mourning. The day's production schedule matters more than the life that has just been destroyed. You remain standing for 14 exhausting hours. Your back burns from standing in one position all day. Your ears ring constantly from the endless roar of machinery. Your lungs ache with every breath of dust-filled air. Sweat soaks your clothes from morning until evening, and every muscle in your body feels as though it has been drained of strength. Finally, the whistle sounds. The working day is over. Relief never comes. Instead, you feel only exhaustion so complete that your legs tremble as you walk toward the factory gates. Tomorrow morning you will return before sunrise. Then the next day. And the day after that. 6 days every week. 52 weeks every year. This is not simply a job. It is a sentence. You leave the mill, but the struggle to survive is far from over. The shift has ended, yet the city offers no relief. As you walk away from the factories, the streets begin to narrow. The cobblestones disappear beneath your feet, replaced by packed earth slick with something that is not quite mud. Every step feels uncertain. The smell changes almost immediately. The sharp scent of coal smoke and cotton dust gives way to something heavier, something organic and rotting. Human waste, animal carcasses, stagnant water thick with refuse, it all hangs in the air. This is Little Ireland, one of Manchester's poorest working-class districts. When Friedrich Engels walked these streets in 1844, he described them as the worst living conditions he had ever witnessed. The houses are built back to back, leaving no rear windows and almost no ventilation. They stand so close together that fresh air cannot circulate between them. Sunlight rarely reaches the narrow courts separating the buildings. Instead, these cramped spaces contain communal privies, open cesspits shared by 30, 40, sometimes even 50 families. These pits are almost never emptied. Instead, they overflow, spilling their contents into the surrounding streets. Every rainfall spreads the filth a little farther. Every warm day intensifies the smell. The waste becomes part of the landscape, impossible to avoid. Look closely at the buildings themselves. They were thrown together quickly and cheaply, with little concern for quality or safety. The bricks are poor, the mortar already beginning to crumble despite being relatively new. Every surface is stained black. The soot pouring constantly from Manchester's factories never remains in the sky. It settles everywhere, covering walls, windows, rooftops, and doorsteps in a greasy layer that refuses to disappear. Every morning a woman scrubs the stone step outside her home. Every evening it is black again. Step inside one of these houses. A family of 7 lives here, 2 parents and 5 children. Their entire home consists of only 2 small rooms, one stacked above the other. There is no running water. There is no sewage connection. The only natural light enters through a single window facing the street, but the glass has become so dark with soot that even at midday the room feels like twilight. The walls are constantly damp. Moisture trickles down them because there is almost no ventilation. At the same time, the family must keep a coal fire burning for cooking and warmth. As a result, the air indoors is scarcely better than the air outside. Smoke mixes with dampness and the smell of too many people crowded into far too little space. Now descend into the cellar beneath the house. Another family lives here. The floor lies below street level, meaning every heavy rainfall floods the room. The water that seeps through the walls is not clean rainwater. It carries sewage leaking from the overflowing cesspits outside. To protect themselves, the family has built a crude platform from bricks and wooden boards, raising their bedding a few inches above the floor. Even that is often not enough. Their straw mattresses remain permanently damp, moldy, and alive with lice and bedbugs. There are no windows. The only light comes faintly from the cellar steps above. 6 people sleep in this single underground room, breathing stale, damp air every night. Outside once again, a woman struggles with another endless task: laundry. She has carried buckets of water from the communal hand pump, unaware that the well beneath it has already been contaminated by sewage seeping through the ground from nearby cesspits. She boils the water over her coal fire, scrubs the family's clothes by hand, wrings them dry, and hangs them across a line stretched through the courtyard. Within an hour they are covered in fresh soot. She shakes them clean. She hangs them again. The soot returns. It is a battle she can never win. The soot is everywhere. It settles on food left uncovered, blackens the inside of cooking pots, stains children's faces, and works its way into the creases of their hands and necks. Washing removes it for a few hours at most. By the end of the day, it has returned. The city exhales filth without stopping, and no one living here can escape it. Watch the children playing in the street. They are barefoot, their feet coated in mud mixed with human waste. They chase one another beside an open drainage channel running down the center of the lane. It is little more than a shallow trench carrying sewage, factory runoff, rainwater, and coal dust. It is not an engineered sewer. It is simply the place where liquid waste collects before slowly making its way toward the river Irk. When heavy rain falls, the channel overflows into the streets. During dry weather, the water barely moves. It stagnates beneath the summer heat, breeding insects and releasing methane gas that hangs in the air with the smell of decay. This is home. Not a temporary crisis. Not an emergency brought on by disaster. This is the permanent reality for the majority of Manchester's working population. They spend 14 hours inside the mills before returning each evening to damp houses, contaminated water, polluted air, and streets filled with sewage. At dawn they wake and do it all again. Follow the drainage channel to its destination. It empties into the river. Stand on the bank and look down. The water is not blue. It is not even brown. It has become a color that does not belong in nature. Today it runs dark red, stained by waste flowing from the dye works farther upstream. Tomorrow it may appear deep blue, black, or a cloudy gray, depending on which factories have emptied their chemicals into it. The surface moves slowly, almost like oil. Bubbles rise continuously from below as methane escapes from layers of rotting waste beneath the water. The smell is overwhelming, a mixture of decaying organic matter, industrial chemicals, and raw sewage fermenting together in a river that has not been truly clean for decades. The River Irk is not unique. The Medlock, the Tib, and nearly every waterway passing through Manchester's industrial districts have become little more than open sewers. Slaughterhouses dump blood and animal remains directly into the current. Tanneries release lime and toxic chemicals. Textile mills flush out dyes and industrial waste. Everywhere, overflowing cesspits feed human sewage into the same rivers. Look closer at the river bank. What appears to be mud is actually a thick layer of industrial sludge mixed with decomposing organic waste. Animal bones protrude from the surface. Torn rags lie half-buried beside shapeless masses that are no longer recognizable. Nothing grows here. The plants along the river banks have long since died, poisoned by water capable of killing almost everything it touches. Yet people still depend on these rivers. Not because they want to, but because they have no choice. A woman fills a bucket less than 50 yards upstream from a pipe, pouring brown industrial waste directly into the water. She carries it home to cook meals, wash clothes, and, if no other source is available, to drink. The public wells offer a little improvement. They draw groundwater already contaminated by thousands of leaking cesspits and polluted rivers. There is no truly clean water. There is only water and the hope that boiling it might be enough. The consequences arrive silently. Cholera gives no warning. One morning a man feels perfectly healthy. By evening he is struck with violent diarrhea and relentless vomiting. Within hours his body loses so much fluid that his skin turns cold and blue. His pulse becomes almost impossible to detect. Often, within a single day, he is dead. His body is wrapped in sheets and carried away quickly. The carts usually come after dark, their wheels wrapped in cloth to reduce the noise. Fear spreads through the neighborhood faster than the disease itself. Typhoid follows a slower course but is no less deadly. It begins with fever and weakness before progressing to delirium and internal bleeding. It spreads through contaminated food and water, moving relentlessly from one household to another. There is no effective treatment. Those fortunate enough to survive are often left permanently weakened. Those who do not survive are buried in overcrowded graves on the outskirts of the city, where coffins are stacked because there is no longer enough room for individual burials. The statistics sound clinical, but behind every number is a human life. In Manchester's working-class districts, average life expectancy is only 25 years. In neighbourhoods such as Angel Meadow and Little Ireland, it falls even further to just 17 years. Not 17 for the sick. Not 17 for the elderly. 17 years overall. Half of all working-class children born in Manchester never reach their 5th birthday. They die from respiratory diseases, contaminated water, malnutrition, infectious outbreaks, and industrial accidents. Death becomes so common that grief itself turns into part of daily life. During epidemics, entire communities begin to unravel. Neighbors avoid one another. Families suspected of harboring illness are isolated. Doctors, when they appear at all, can do little more than confirm what everyone already fears. The disease has arrived. It will spread. Some people will survive. Many will not. There is no organized quarantine. No effective public health system. No coordinated government response. Only fear. And a growing number of the dead.